Chapter 4. A recap. In the previous chapter, Rudy continued his quest. He was looking for who seemed to be a very powerful shaman. We can only speculate that he was looking for a shaman so his daughter could be healed. He encountered what appeared to be an ordinary rhino, who was able to communicate with him by sending impressions and images directly to his consciousness. The situation became stranger when Rudy entered into the rhino's consciousness to encounter a deity with the name Oghuwe. This deity claimed to have some truths that she wants to reveal to Rudy. Who is this deity, and what does it want from Rudy? What will Oghuwe unfold to Rudy? Let's continue with the story. Oghuwe. A shocking revelation. She came closer to me, levitating as if an invisible force was pushing her towards me. She extended her right arm towards my heart, touching my chest gently. While touching her heart with the left arm, I felt the electricity and intense energy flowing inside my whole being. At this time I am not sure how to define the experience, as I did have a body inside a rhino's consciousness. The experience was very real and I could feel everything as real as I was in a real physical body, but I am aware that I am inside a rhino's consciousness. She saluted me. Hello, I am Oghuwe. I have used this rhino's consciousness as the portal to your world. Every animal's mind is a gateway to other worlds. Depending on the type of animals, the season of the year, time of the day, the celestial body's positions, and many other factors that favors this phenomenon, when timed precisely, a being can penetrate the fabric of realities into a different one. This is how other entities can possess another biological life. So is the ability to channeling other entities' consciousness. A long time ago other beings like myself escaped from this reality through animals' consciousness. We had to retreat because the darkness had dominated the entire realm. We were able to observe your world through this portal, but as the changes continued it became more difficult to connect to your world. Space itself has different states or phases. These phases are what favors the conditions for otherworldly beings to be able to peer into different realms of existence. Sometimes the space reality could be tough, soft, fluid-like, even gaseous-like. For the lack of a concept in your understanding, this is the simplest way I can explain this phenomenon to you. Space undergoes these phases. This is somehow similar to seasons of the year, except these cycles happen over a very long period. For example, when space is fluid-like, people's minds become very creative and very artistic. Their mental capacity can accommodate many new ideas but are not able to communicate with otherworldly beings. They become open-minded, because their reality is fluid and not rigid. But when space turns into a very tough and rigid state, people become fundamentalists. There is only one truth, kind of mentality, therefore they are very harsh. When the space reality behaves like air, it allows the mental perception to phase from one reality to another without restrictions. This was the period where all myths and legends originated from, where people sailed on the ocean of mysteries. It was because the otherworldly beings could easily phase into this world and out. And your people were able to see those from the worlds above and below. These different phases are the causes of different abilities of the mind. They stimulate mental senses. Just like with the presence of the sun, the sense of sight is stimulated. There are cosmic bodies that cause space itself to behave the way it does. I've only explained it simply, but it is more complicated than these simple explanations, as there are also different spaces within the same space. Even every individual has their personal space. This is why people's minds operate in different ways. Some are open-minded, some are religious, some are highly intelligent, and so forth. Every object has its own space, but they share a grand space or a prime reality. For this reason, an individual can create their reality based on the principles of this prime reality. The mind distorts this prime reality. When these cosmic conditions favor the phenomenon of the ether-like space, different beings can peer into your world. It is through this principle I can make contact with you. Now you are on a specific location. The tree your body is leaning on acts as a satellite. A satellite to magnify the signal for communication between the rhino, you, and me. This would have not been possible if you were on another location on your planet. Space is like a sponge with bubbles, where there are soft spots and hard spots. This location is among the soft spots where space is lighter, but not light enough for physical things to teleport from one reality to another. Only consciousness can penetrate space more easily than other parts of you. It is a very rare phenomenon that we have been waiting for many centuries to communicate with you. This portal is going to stay open for only the next 12 years. The long-lost ancient universal language. At this moment I am from a very deeper inner reality. After this inner portal closes, it will not open for the next 12,000 years. So, you must listen carefully and take note of what I am about to reveal to you. I am only able to help you within these 12 years. So, whenever you need my assistance just call my name, addressing your questions. After I will be able to answer you through imaginations, dreams, synchronicity, even some hints on books or television. You can also grab a pen and paper to write a conversational format. I will be there with you. After you leave this location you may never be able to communicate with me in this form anymore. We used to be able to communicate with humans freely, but after the Great Confusion, the human mind has become rigid and crystallized, sinking further into the denser realms of confusion for us to be able to reach them. And this is affecting our worlds because we share the same prime reality. I am the guardian of this land, the prime land of these lands. I know it is confusing, but I will try my best to explain this concept to you. I have been taking care of this land for many years. My creation prospered for thousands of years before the Great Confusion came upon them. I have purposefully summoned you here, to reveal some truth to you. At this time, she was speaking a different language, but I was able to clearly understand her words. Every word she uttered projected a concept inside my mind. For example, her name Oghuwe literally means the one who nurtures the soil. In our language, we tend to separate things, but in this language, it also means she is also the land. As she nurtures the land, she is also nurturing herself. Ogh meaning the land. Here the land is not in the way we interpret it, but it means the inclusiveness of everything connected to the land. Uva it means he or she, as this language doesn't have masculine and feminine. And Uhee means the caretaker or overseer. In this language, every letter which is a tone of sound represents a symbol or a certain concept. When you combine these sounds to form words you create a meaningful concept that conveys a message. But it is not just that. These sounds are like seed sounds. When you combine them properly, they form a structure. These structures are similar to seeds of plants. In my mind, I see it very clearly. Humans used this language a very long time ago, but their languages are like the leftovers or the ruins of this language. These sounds create concepts into someone else's mind even though they have never heard of the language before. It is as if they project an image into your mind. I didn't have to make an effort to understand the meaning. It seems the mind is hardwired to naturally understand these sounds. Just that the knowledge we are taught during childhood tends to get in the way. These sounds don't create visual images but concepts. The mental images form after the conception of the inner meaning of that message. For example, if someone says the word long, it represents the length of something. That concept of something being longer than average is what these sounds represent. They are like the meaning behind meanings. She was able to adjust the intensity of her voice accordingly. She could create very intense expressions. She could hold that expression still on my mind, fine-tune its clarity. Just by playing with her voice. As she was speaking, I could see a mist of different colors form out of every word she speaks. If the tone of her voice is so strong, they materialize into physical shapes. That's why she turned down the intensity of her voice. And in a sense, she can speak. A tree, an animal, a human being. This was so fascinating. She continued to tell me, I was among her children, and that she didn't create me but I eventuated in her world. When children are born, they eventuate, they come into existence from another state of existence. This way they usually come with a purpose and a mission. They make contracts to finish certain tasks because of who they are. When they finish their tasks, they move on into another form of existence, but if they don't finish their contracts at the right time, they cause a disturbance in the cosmos. This turbulence slows and disrupts the small cycles of life which perpetuate into disturbing larger cycles of life. These effects could take thousands of years from being noticed. I was among her children, she insisted, but I didn't finish what I was meant to finish. I didn't bring what I was meant to bring into her world. As a result, the disturbances I saw, the dead animals, and trees were the aftermath of my consequences. The prime nodes, the secret of it all. There are many rivers in this world, in the sky and the land. Every tree needs water, clean water. Every biological body has blood circulation. Every amount of water that permeates into a tree trunk brings minerals to the plant systems. Every blood that circulates into a body supplies nutrients and oxygen. So are the rivers on the land. The sky rivers are highly charged and highly concentrated with oxygen compared to the one on the ground, and where the rivers above meet the one below. A tree usually grows at these locations following the patterns of energies because this is where the energies are highly concentrated. These types of trees are known as Uhee. These trees connect the rivers above and ones below are the true gateways between the sky rivers and the ground rivers. They are the gateways of heavens and earth. If you can locate these trees, you will be able to find places where you can communicate with other worlds, as these trees are connected to networks of deeper dimensions. In these locations, ancient people used as a conduit to communicate with their departed loved ones. So now you know the tree you are currently leaning on is among the connections between the sky river and the ground river. What your scientists don't understand is among the molecules of oxygens, nutrients, and water that circulates inside a tree trunk or human body. There are the prime nodes XIX of nutrients, water, and gases, even the soil. You will find that in every group of any element, be it carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, etc. Among these groups there is a molecule that is a prime molecule. These prime molecules are responsible for receiving information from higher dimensions and distribute information to other secondary molecules. For example, during conception there is a prime sperm that enters inside the egg, then the rest of those sperms become supportive of their successor. Ants have a queen, so are the bees. It is the same that these insects' queens are their primes nodes. Some of you have the concept of the soul group, but haven't explored the prime of that soul group. For example, every company there is a founder, the visionary he, she has qualities of a leader with types of personality that is suitable to lead their group. For a soul group to progress, they need their prime so they can receive further information from a higher dimension which is a prime reality. In this hierarchical structure, there is the prime, and the secondary. These secondary also have different functions that are essential for the entire group. Even the formation of civilizations is the reflection of this pattern, this blueprint that illuminates and holds the very fabric of this reality. Among trees, you must have noticed the various types of leaves, some narrow, some wider, some long. They come with many shapes. The molecules, as your scientists named them, they have different sizes. This is the same story like that of primes. The energetic field around them comes with different sizes. Not only that, but they have different shapes. This is simple logic. Bigger leaves are meant to deal with larger energetic primes. The same could be said to different shapes and types of being it of human or animal noses. The airflow creates cyclones that generate a specific type of energy. So, in sense oxygen may be the same air, but the functions and forms on the energetic level are fundamentally different. You have humans of the same races, gender, even family, but some are accountants, engineers, doctors, leaders, and so on. Again, you are not able to recognize these primes by simply looking at it. The same statement could be said about geniuses, saints, enlightened beings, etc. You can't tell someone is a genius by simply looking at them, but you can tell someone is different by starting to observe how they do things. If a person can view a human energetic spectral field XX, they will be able to differentiate that one individual is different from the rest. Your scientists hit it right in the head when they discovered that plants use sunlight to produce fruits. What they have failed to understand is how exactly it does that. The answer is simple. The sunlight only activates and supplies energies to these primes, and the primes have energetic fields with the information required to produce fruits. The coordination between secondary, primes, and trees is what forms a fruit. Fruits have many seeds, and if you plant them, they will grow. In every single fruit, there is also a prime seed. Sometimes they could be 2, even 3 primes within one fruit. The fruits are what the prime nutrients eventuate into. Then when you plant the seed, the prime seeds will be protected by the other secondary seeds to become a forest. But if the primes are not among its secondary seeds, the other seeds will not have the means to receive information from the prime reality, and are left like wandering spirits without a purpose. As a result, they fall to an age of confusion and ignorance. The tree you are sitting by right now is an example of the prime trees. This way it has capabilities of tuning into deeper signals from the prime reality, but its secondary have been isolated from it. The pods you saw in the center of the garden are of primes. The best primes. You too, Mr. Rudy Rundlefield, are a prime of a certain soul group. After tracing the root cause of this greater confusion, I traced it back to you. You are the cause of this great confusion among my children. You had a mission to eventuate into my world, but you deviated, you diverged into other worlds, many eons ago. That's why many of your lifetimes have been full of miseries and misfortunes, simply because you were running against the course. Not only did you cause great pain among my children but other sentient beings in other worlds. How was I supposed to know? I asked her sadly. The knowledge is irrelevant, your suffering and pain should have been sufficient for you to hear the message. But because you had fallen into denser realities, the guardians were not able to reach you. Every attempt we made to contact you as a successful failure, which led us to believe there was yet another cause for your deviation from the grand plan. Because you were the first prime to eventuate into my world but deviated from your plan. You became the prime of the original confusion among my world. We had to come up with an ingenious solution. This confusion is in itself a conscious being, doing what it must to exist. It orchestrates plans to keep other beings in confusion so it can sustain itself. It is known as the Allegorhythm, and the nodes of this allegorhythm are the shepherds. The case of animals eating other animals is not a natural phenomenon. It is because these confusion entities start to manifest on an energetic level and then to microscopic levels as viruses, then vicious insects, and even vicious animals that consume other animals' flesh. The beings of confusion have entirely infested the cosmic networks of information that flows from the prime reality to secondary realities. These rivers of networks are what gives people a sense of knowing, and when they are disconnected from this inner awareness, beings fall into ignorance, which results in chaos and confusion. There are few uninfected Uhee left, but they are on the outer realms of your world, which makes them not easily accessible to people. The natural rhythm of things is when the matter is processed by plants, then it becomes consumed by animals, and from biological beings, it ascends into energetic bodies. But now this process is disrupted, the greater cycles of life are disrupted. From these beings of confusion, comes diseases, suffering, pain, and many other unpleasant experiences. The purpose of life is the expression of life, the opposite of it isn't life. But this is the world of free will. A being can choose what it wishes and be able to live with the consequences. Your mind had a crack, a loophole to be exploited because you had already entertained the idea of deviating from your mission. Whenever one changes their state of being, their vibrations, they attract beings of similar vibrations. Thinking certain thoughts attract beings of that nature. For an important person like you, once you attract these beings, no matter how harmless or small it might be, if they find you important, they will send information to higher beings that are more malicious. Then they will exploit that gap until you fall into the confusion. A wind blows carrying lots of information with it in form of a smell or scent. Dogs, for example, they can trace the origin of a scent of smell. It is the same principle that beings or certain vibrations will trace a certain type of frequency to its origin. That is when the beings of confusion were able to penetrate your consciousness to exploit the possibility of you to deviate from your grand plan. The first stage is they will isolate you from the truth, then take away any hopes and faith to make sure you never ignite the spark of the will to know the truth. Human consciousness can never die, but it can be used by other beings when the main spirit is in a deep sleep. In a way, a person will still be in a dream stasis mode, but not fully conscious, but in a confused state. This is what your world conceptualizes as hell, because when consciousness is in this stage, it becomes almost impossible to rescue them. They are lost forever. All these lost consciousness are like the cells inside the body of a confusion being, feeding it from energies of fear, suffering, pain, and the rest of bad experiences. You have been living a lonely life most of your life because you lost all of your secondary many lifetimes ago. And they are feeling the same, unconsciously seeking their primary. Why didn't you restore my state of being before things got this bad? I asked sadly. As I said, this is the world of free choice. We cannot intervene unless there is a will for you to change. The will for you to return to your original true self. And we still have to wait until it is the right time to reach you. Sometimes a person's life is at the center of others' lives. If we disrupt it, we will be disrupting other people's lives. We had to wait until you were in the very outer edges of the circle of life, where your life is not intertwined with others' lives, so we can reach you without causing damage to those connected to you by removing you. I can compare it with surgery. We cannot simply reach the tumor inside a brain without proper procedures, a set of skills, and special equipment, otherwise the person would die. You have embarked on a long journey looking for a solution to your daughter's life. But this journey was a calling. Your daughter is among your secondary. She eventuated into your life to save you. Your ex-wives are among the secondary. They came to your life so they can stir you into this moment. So, we could expound on your will to return to original nature. After several lifetimes we had to isolate you from society so we can extract you as painlessly as possible without creating negative ripple effects. Your suffering is the only message we could send to you so you can contemplate on life. But your journey to return to your original nature has just begun. You will encounter many opposing forces. You will be tested. You must right your mistakes and return what isn't yours. Rudy, I must reveal yet another truth to you, another information that you might and will find it very shocking. Rudy, as we speak right now you are actually in a coma. You have been in a coma for over 30 circles. All the life you have been living is only a projection of the surrounding environment of your true life.